My name is Alicia, and in this week's lesson, we are going to talk about mistakes that learners make with their studies and how to avoid them. I have chosen a bunch of problems, study and learning related problems, and we're going to talk about them in today's lesson.
Still taking guesses about your marketing
We're also
strategy?
going to talk about how to avoid these problems too. So I hope that everybody gets some ideas for how to study, not just what to study, okay? So as you join live, please make sure to hit the like button and of course share this lesson so that other people can find this topic. That would be super, super cool. All right, a couple of quick announcements while we wait for everyone to join us live. The first one is about this banner at the bottom of the screen, this level check banner, this level test banner. Our team has created a level check. So a lot of people ask, how do I know my level? How do I know what to study? If you click on the link below the video on YouTube or above the video on Facebook, you'll find this page. So if you scroll down on this page, you will find all of the information about how to check your level. So after you finish the level check test, you'll get a score. And that will tell you which path to take. So what kinds of lessons to take or what to study next. So many of you have asked about checking your level, understanding what to study next. So you can check this out and see what your level is and see where you can start, where we recommend. So this is all at EnglishClass101.com. Check it out. You just need a free account with your name and email address, okay? That is announcement number one. Announcement number two is, as always, if you have questions for me for our weekly Q&A, question and answer series, you can send them to me. This is a screenshot, an old screenshot. You can send them to me for this series called Ask Alicia. If you want to send me your grammar questions, vocabulary questions, culture questions, whatever they might be, you can do that at EnglishClass101.com/ask-Alicia. There is also a link in the YouTube description, so check that out too. Okay, so do that. And if you want to find me on social media, you can find me here too. Okay, that's all for announcements. I think everything is okay now. I see Facebook is up. Yay, Facebook has joined us. YouTube is here. Hello, YouTube. Nan Nguyen Trong from Vietnam. Hi. And Banaf She. Hello. Emilio. Hello. Karthik from Tamil Nadu. Cool. Hi. Jermaine. Hello. Hi, Karina from Guatemala. Ryan. Hello. Awesome. Lots of people. And on Facebook, lots of people too. Pedro. And Peter, hello, awesome, welcome guys. Okay, I think Facebook is just getting rolling. Today, we are talking about how to avoid some common mistakes, and we're going to talk, this is not grammar mistakes, but we're going to talk about study mistakes. So problems people have in their studies, like studying in different ways, yeah? Okay, so let's take a look at today's lesson boards then, yeah? Okay, so this is going to be the flow for today's lesson. Here we go. So we're going to talk about goal setting and reviewing, active learning and passive learning, and study planning. And then we're going to talk about how often you study and how much you study as well. So I hope that everybody gets kind of some ideas of how they can improve their study sessions to be more efficient, okay? Hi, Facebook. Facebook is rolling now. Cool. Hi, everybody. Okay. Also, if you haven't, please make sure to like and share this video so other people can find the lesson, yeah? I'm going to do that now. Like, share, share. Okay, cool. I'm done. I will start the lesson now. Okay, let's begin. I want to start today with the biggest problem. Well, I guess maybe it's the biggest problem, but I see it as a big problem based on your comments and feedback. So let's start with this one. One of the biggest mistakes I see among learners is not setting good goals. So what does this mean? It means that people set goals that are too big, or they're hard to understand, or it's hard to know when you reached the goal. So those aren't good goals. What you should do is set SMART goals. SMART goals I have talked about many times on this channel, but SMART goals are specific, S, specific, measurable, M, measurable, so that means we can measure how much or how long we did something. They are achievable, so we can achieve them. We can do them. They are realistic, so not a crazy goal. And they are time-bound, so we have a deadline for it, yeah? So we need to set SMART goals, right? Okay? So what's a really good example? I see this in YouTube comments, in the chat, in messages all the time. People write to me and they say, my goal is to be fluent. My goal is to be fluent. I want to be fluent. I want to speak perfect English or something like that. Of course, like we all want that. We all have that language goal for our studies. But for a study goal, this is a really hard goal to understand. Why? Because how do you know when you're fluent? How do you know you reached that? It's really hard to say, I'm fluent now, right? So we need to set different goals. For example, my goal is to learn 300 vocabulary words this month, right? So this goal is good because it's specific, 300 vocabulary words. It's measurable. We can measure. Did I finish this or not? It's achievable. We can do this in 1 month. It's realistic, not a crazy goal, and time-bound. It's 1 month, okay? So this is a good goal. This goal, my goal is to be fluent. This is not a good goal. So lots of you, some of you are writing in the chat, my goal is to be fluent. Yes, all of us want to be fluent. But for your studies, this is not a good goal to set for yourself because you don't know. If that's your only goal, that makes it really, really difficult for you to move forward in your studies. You need to set lots and lots and lots of very small goals to help yourself move forward, okay? So, update your goals as you make progress. Update your goals as you make progress. So it doesn't mean you have one goal forever, all right? So you have like a weekly goal, or maybe a goal for your study session, or a goal for your month, right? So you have lots and lots of different little goals inside your big goal, okay? So this is a really big mistake I see. People don't set good goals for themselves. I want to be fluent is not a good goal, honestly. Yes, I understand. I understand your goal. Of course you want to be fluent. So, but think about the steps you need to take to get there. Okay, let's go to the next mistake I see. The next mistake I see is not reviewing, not reviewing. So that means I see people, for example, when they use a textbook, they just go through the textbook, but they never go back to old topics they learn. And you should review. Reviewing is super important. So go back to old lessons, go back to old vocabulary, study topics, and so on, and review them. So there are some like flashcards. Like on our website, we have flashcards that automatically review. They help you to review. So that's super cool. But if you use a textbook or if you use video lessons or audio lessons, make sure you review that information every once in a while. You can't watch something or read something or listen to it one time and remember forever, right? So go back to old lessons, go back to old vocabulary, make sure you review it to refresh your mind, yeah? Okay? And then another point, check your progress with old material. You can see your growth. You can see your growth. So that means you can see how far you leveled up, right? If you go back to check old material. You can also find new spots to study. So for example, if you read a textbook or you read a book a few months ago, it was super, super difficult for you. And then you studied some grammar, you studied some vocabulary, and now you go back and you read it and you're like, oh, I can read this now. That's a marker. So you know you leveled up, right? You know you made some progress. Review helps you to do that. So by reviewing something, you understand, oh, I learned something, I improved. So this can be super, super motivating. Also, when you review, if you go back and you think, oh, I still don't know this word, or I still don't understand this grammar point, that's a new spot to study. So that shows you, I have to study this thing right here. Okay? So review is super, super important, and it's good for your motivation. Final point, give your brain the chance to try to recall the information. Give your brain the chance to try to recall the information. Recall means like remember. You're trying to like push your brain to remember something. So this is really, really helpful for long-term learning. So make sure you have some time. You study once, you have a little break, and then you study again, right? The same thing. That space, having that space, that gap, is really, really good for long-term learning. And try to recall the information. If you're wrong, that's okay. Making a mistake is okay. But trying to force your brain, trying to push your brain to remember is extremely helpful for long-term learning. So make sure you give yourself a chance to do this by reviewing. Don't forget review. I talk about this all the time. Okay? So review. So the first two mistakes are goals. Set good goals and review. Okay? So this is part 1 for today's live lesson. All right? I'm looking at your comments. Not so many questions today, but I'm checking your comments. People are writing useful tips. Thanks. Okay, great. Thanks, Ina, on Facebook for writing that. Okay, so we'll take a quick break and then we'll get to part 2. So if you missed it earlier, you can check this banner at the bottom, this test your level banner here. If you missed it earlier, our team has a new assessment test, like a level check test on the website. So many of you have asked about how to know your level, how to know what to study next, or what your weak points are and strong points are. Try this out so you can get your results and you'll see which path you can study with us with. You can see which path you should take. We recommend for you to take to study with us. So check this out. You can find this from the link below the video on YouTube or above the video on Facebook. You need your name and an email address and then you're ready to go. Okay, cool. So let's get into part 2 then. If you haven't, please make sure to hit the like button and share this video so other people can find the lesson. Okay, let's go to part 2. Part 2 mistakes. Okay, the next one is very important for those of you, I think all of you, who use YouTube, Facebook, audio, podcasts, and so on. This next tip is maybe for you. So the next tip is, or the next mistake rather, is no active learning. No active learning. What does this mean? Let's talk about these two, active learning and passive learning. So active learning is practicing speaking, writing in a diary, reading a book, focusing on a video, taking notes. These very active things. We're using our brain, we're focusing our energy, focusing our attention on the topic. Yeah, this is active learning. Passive learning, on the other hand, passive learning, for example, is playing music or videos or a podcast while you do other things, right? So with passive learning, you're not focusing your attention on it. It's just there in the background, just playing somewhere. So the problem I see, lots of people online seem to use only passive learning. They don't do active learning much. A lot of people write comments to say they listen to like a long video on the YouTube channel in the background while they clean the house or something, or they play it while they're doing their homework. That's passive learning, yeah? Make sure you also have active learning in your study plan, in your study schedule. So you need to make sure you're using your brain to create something. You're focusing your attention on understanding and getting new information. So passive learning is fun, for sure, like listening to music or whatever. Passive learning is super fun. It's great to do that, but make sure you also do active learning too, okay? All right, okay, I don't see any questions yet, just lots of people saying hi, so hello everyone. Okay, let's go to the next point then. So yes, make sure to do active and passive learning, not just passive. So next point, no study session plan, no study session plan. This is a mistake that I think all of us experience sometimes for sure. I do it too. You feel lazy, you have no plan for your studies. So what does this mean? No study session plan means you think, okay, I'm going to study now but I don't know what I'm gonna study. I'll just do a bunch of stuff. So, of course, like everybody I think has had this experience. What should you do instead? You should choose a goal for your study session. So start your studies with a plan, okay? So for example, this X is something you should not do. Like, don't start your study session and just watch a bunch of random YouTube videos about language, right? Don't just sit there and go, okay, I'll watch this and this and this. Okay, I spent 1 hour watching grammar videos. Great, I studied. That's not super great. It's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. But instead, watch YouTube videos about your study session topic, yeah? So if you make a study plan, a session study plan, you say, okay, today I'm going to focus on, I don't know, present perfect tense. Then you can go watch YouTube videos about present perfect tense as part of your study plan. After that, you make some sentences with the grammar point. You practice speaking out loud with the grammar point, whatever. So make your study session plan and make a goal for it. So that way you have targeted practice, yeah? So sit down with a plan for your time for your studies, okay? Yeah, it happens for sure. We get distracted easily on the internet, right? There's so much available. But make a plan for yourself. What do I want to achieve? This goes back to problem number 1, not setting good goals, yeah? Make sure you set a good goal for your study session so you can achieve it and move on. Okay. Jiren Owarida on YouTube says, I have an app which has a bunch of English conversations. I listen to them and pay attention to every word. Is that an effective way to learn English? It's one way. You say you're listening, right? So you are improving your listening skills by doing that, right? That's one skill. You have reading, writing, speaking, listening, communication, yeah? We have lots of skills to develop, so you're working on one skill by doing that, by listening, yeah? Make sure to work on the other skills too. Okay. Edwin says, should we only speak with phrasal verbs? No. You should use the verb that is best for the situation. Don't speak only in phrasal verbs. I can't imagine what that would be like. Okay. All right. Cool. So my key point here: make a study session plan. Yeah, for every study session. It doesn't have to be huge. Just pick something to focus on. Okay? All right, this is part 2. We are finished, yeah. Someone on YouTube says, I always watch random videos. I know, it happens, right? On YouTube or whatever. We choose the next thing, you know, all the time. I completely understand. Okay, let's go now to part 3. We'll take a super quick break and go to part 3. Just quickly, if you missed it, there is a level check test. This banner says, test your level now. There's a quick level check test on our homepage. You can check it out. If you wanted to get your level checked through our test and get a path, a recommended learning path for you. So if you have this question, many people have had this question lately, check this out. Maybe this would be helpful for you to find a place to start. Okay, so have a look. The link is below the video on YouTube and above the video on Facebook. Okay? Okay, let's get to part 3, and if you haven't, please make sure to like and share the video. All right, let's go on to part 3. Part 3 is about study schedules, really, okay? So the first problem I want to talk about here is inconsistent study. Inconsistent study. So this prefix means not or no. So consistent means regular, yeah? Always at the same time, or always at the same place, or always in the same way. That's consistent, something that is consistent. Inconsistent means not that. So not consistent. Inconsistent study. So for example, maybe studying for 2 hours twice a month. That's it. Or watching YouTube videos sometimes when you feel like it. These are examples of inconsistent study. No good, right? Then, something that's good to do, make time every day or every week for targeted study. So, of course, everybody is different. Maybe, in my case, a few years ago, I like to do 15 minutes vocabulary study on my way to work and on my way home from work. So that was, for me, 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. That was super, super great for my vocabulary building. So for me, that was my consistent study strategy to improve my vocabulary. It was awesome for me. My vocabulary went, ooh. So make sure you have a consistent study schedule. If you want to focus on grammar, maybe that means 30 minutes 3 times a week you study grammar. So make sure you have a regular study schedule. Don't just say, I'll do it when I feel like it, right? Because it's hard to find motivation when we're tired and busy, right? So make sure you have a more consistent study schedule, okay? Jaffer says, how can I change my level? Study. You need to study and work to improve it, to change your level. Okay, cool. So the last point then, the last point is related to this, actually. This mistake, cramming is a big mistake for long-term learning. What is cramming? Cramming is, for example, the night before a test, you panic. Oh no, I have a test. And you study, like 5 hours, 8 hours to get all the information in your head and then take the test. So what's the problem? So studying for 5 hours, like once a month before a test, or maybe you have a long, intensive language lesson once a week. The problem with these is that these strategies are helpful, yeah, in short-term thinking, yeah? So for the test tomorrow, great, maybe you learn everything you need to know with this strategy. But long-term, this is not helpful. So intensive study can be helpful, like an intensive language course. If you can take an intensive language course, that's awesome. That's super great. But like just once a week maybe is, I don't know, if it's the only thing you're doing, maybe not so helpful. So intensive study can be helpful. So intensive means super, super focused, like many, many hours. Intensive study can be helpful, but cramming doesn't help with long-term learning. You get the information in your head for a short time only with cramming, yeah? So cramming can also lead to burnout. What is burnout? So burnout is when you lose motivation, you feel tired, you hate it, you quit, yeah? No good. So you need to pace yourself, like here, making a consistent schedule. Pace yourself so you don't get burned out. Even if you're excited about something, you can get burned out just because you don't make a good plan for yourself. So make sure you're good to yourself and make sure you help yourself reach your goals by creating a good study plan for yourself that fits your life, okay? So don't cram, don't cram. I saw at this, some students at the school I used to teach at, they would come to the school like just 1 day a week and spend the whole day there. And that was it. That was their only study. So I thought, wow, it would be better to have, of course, it's great to come to the school to study and practice, but make sure you have time throughout your week to do that as well, right? Okay. So don't burn out, don't burn out. So cramming, cramming. So don't cram. Cramming is putting all of that information into your head at one time. No good. You get tired and it's hard to remember it all. We learn language, our own language, over time as little kids, right? By listening to other people and learning patterns. So you need to give your brain time to do that too, okay? All right, good. So those are a few mistakes that I see learners make with their studies. Of course, all of us struggle with these from time to time. I definitely do too. But just think about it. Just be aware of it so that you can make a better study plan for yourself. Okay? I will share the lesson boards. If you want to take a screenshot, do so now. All right, so here are the topics we discussed today. We talked about not setting good goals and not reviewing. We talked about active learning and passive learning and setting a study session plan. We also talked about inconsistent study and cramming, okay? So I hope that everybody found something they can maybe change a little bit in their study session or thought, oh, I do that. For me, I'm very inconsistent lately. I study kind of randomly. My studies aren't very good lately, so I need to I need to pick up my motivation. Okay, so that is it for this week, but I will be back next week. So next week's lesson information is right here. Oh my goodness, that is kind of a weird text box. Sorry, it looks a little bit weird today. Sorry, that's kind of strange. Next week's lesson will be October 27th. That is Wednesday, October 27th. 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is New York City time. If you don't know your local time, please use your amazing Google skills to find it. Or you can set a notification on YouTube. There, fix it. You can set a notification on YouTube or on Facebook for the live stream. Or if you follow me on Instagram, I always share a link and a topic reminder in my stories. You can talk to me next week about how to express fear and uncertainty. This is kind of the Halloween episode, but I want to talk about how we express these ideas, these emotions and feelings naturally. Yeah? So this is what we're going to talk about next week. Okay? So I'll wrap up today's lesson there. Let's see. I'm looking at your questions. I see lots of thanks and people talking about their study plans. That's awesome. So thanks very much for joining me today. Also, please don't forget, if you do want to check your level from this banner here, make sure to do that from the link below the video on YouTube or above the video on Facebook. Don't forget, if you have other questions for me, send them to me at englishclass101.com/ask-Alicia. There's a link to the Ask Alicia submission page in the YouTube description. And you can also find my social media links there too, on Instagram and Twitter. Okay, so I will say goodbye for this week, and I will see you again next time. Okay, so thanks very much for joining me for this week's lesson. Have a good day, have a good week, and I will see you again next time. Bye.